Hey, I'm Mark. I am a toy designer on Action Force, Operation Recall, and some other things. And when I was a kid, I rushed home from school so I could watch G.I. Joe. And if you didn't watch G.I. Joe, your childhood was trash.
Welcome to Your Childhood Was Trash, the podcast where we explore the pop culture touchstones that shaped our guests' childhoods. From movies and TV shows to video games and toys, we'll cover it all. My name's Mike, and I'm here with my co-host Nick. And in every episode, we're joined by a special guest who shares their favorite childhood property with us and discusses how it influenced their life. So, hey Mike, how's it going?
Yeah,
I'm trying to segue into this, Nick. Shut up. Thanks for coming on the show, Mark. We appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So you decided to pick G.I. Joe. What made you choose that, among other things?
You know what? I would say, like, no kidding, when I was a kid, that was the most prolific after school cartoon. No kidding. We'd get home from school. I had an older sister and a younger brother, and it's the only thing we all agreed upon, like, our whole childhood. We would all watch that show together. It was great. It was, Star Wars came and kind of went early on. Jedi, I was still fairly young when Jedi came and left, and then Star Wars kind of dwindled after that. And God bless us for living in the 80s and having all these great cartoons and shows and toy lines, but the one that sort of persevered the most, in my opinion, is G.I. Joe. Like, it's hard to go back and watch He-Man. It's hard to watch Silverhawks. It's hard to watch Thundercats. They're hard. It's like they didn't age great. G.I. Joe is fantastic. Sunbow crushed it. I could go upstairs right now and put it on and be perfectly entertained watching it. And not just that, but like over the course of 10, 15, 20 minutes, my kids will start coming in and sitting down, and they'll just sit down and watch it with me.
Nice.
Like, it's still good.
Yeah, they did a fantastic job. Even so, I'm an 80s baby. And as much as I love the Sunbow, like, I even transitioned to the Deke series, that doesn't hold up as well. That is rough. That is rough, but I have fond memories of those figures and that cartoon.
True.
But you're right. The original Sunbow series, you watch it, it holds up. It's still entertaining. It's still captivating. As an adult, I lean towards it more now because I like the realism. Whereas a kid, it was the flashiness. The Range Vipers, Pathfinder, Ambush, all those guys, they were flashy, they were fun. Metalhead, scream and bang every time you're shooting rockets off of your back. But as an adult, the realism of the Sunbow series is fantastic.
It was, it's almost weird to hear you say the realism of it, because it was not grounded. Like, there were ghosts, there was magic, there was dimensions, but I
guess I mean realism as in, like, the uniforms and, like, the character development was more realistic. They were more of a military.
I think it comes down to a little bit more like they were people. They weren't
superheroes.
They weren't superheroes. They weren't cats from outer space. They weren't, like, flying around in space. They weren't transforming robots. They weren't.
They did battle space aliens near the end.
But they're still human.
It went a little off the rails at the end. You know what, though? Like, it's interesting. Because I was born in 75, so when it got to be around 89, 90, 91, like, my interest in G.I. Joe and toys and cartoons waned. And that was the time when, like, the neon colors were coming out, and it was ninja everything, and there was nothing at that time that really interested me. But now, going back, like, I'm kind of rediscovering that stuff because I was so out of tune with it that now that I'm learning about that stuff, it's new. It's new to me, and I like that stuff. Like, I like the design. I like I like everything about it. It's cool to kind of keep learning about it because there's so much There's so much, and I enjoy the comics. That was the only comic book I like really collected when I was a kid. I got other things, but the only one that like I made sure I had every issue was G.I. Joe, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever got into those comics.
There was one of those that Marvel put those out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that was like Marvel was like, we're gonna just snatch up all the '80s cartoon properties and put out comics back then.
Well, so G.I. Joe specifically is an interesting story with Marvel because they had a bit of a partnership. That's how Larry Hama got pulled in and did the file cards, and advertising the comics is how they advertised the toys with animation. Because if you know the whole story, right, like there were laws in place that they couldn't have animations to advertise toys to kids, and that kind of got lifted. But it was like that was kind of the workaround that they came up with, and it absolutely worked. It was an amazing combination. It was toys, cartoon, comic. It was like everything, and they got me. They are in my brain forever.
Was the cartoon your first introduction to, or was it the comics?
The cartoon. So I lived in a cornfield in northern Illinois, and so getting to someplace that sold comics was rare. And eventually something opened up closer to me, and eventually somebody had a car and could get us to a town that had them.
Sure.
So it was a late introduction, but I just started whenever I was someplace that had them, I would grab them up.
Nice.
But it wasn't that much of a disparity time wise. The cartoon was first, but the comics followed very shortly after.
Yeah, did you get heavily into the toys too at the time, or?
I didn't get a lot of toys as a kid. I certainly would have wanted more. It was a weird thing where I was the older brother. My little brother would get all the toys I wanted.
Yeah.
But I mean, I remember coming home from school one day and my mom had just randomly bought me Rock and Roll, like the version 1, nice. Straight arm.
Yeah.
With his it wasn't even like if you read the file card, he's supposed to have an M60, but they gave him a what's that? Not an M2. It's like a German machine gun. I forget what it's called. Oh, MG3. He had an MG3, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the ins and outs of the original lineup. My brother, I think you guys are the same age. He's 10 years older than me. I'll be 39 this year, and a lot of my original Joes were passed down from him because he grew out of that stuff quick and never looked back, unlike us who just came right back to it. And like the original Vamp, I had that with the ASP, all that little stuff. The Cobra. What was the little battle armor? The Android suit.
The snake armor. The white.
The snake armor.
Put a guy inside. Yeah.
He had those. And that was my first like big introduction to Joe. Like I still have a lot of the straight arm Joes, like Flash and Duke and stuff.
That's wild. Yeah, I didn't have a whole lot of those. Like my first, I think 3 figures were Rock and Roll, then Destro, and then it was I think my birthday came around and I got the Viper glider, which was this like foam glider that came with a version of a Cobra Trooper, and like I'm pretty sure those were like my first 3.
Nice.
And that
those are pretty good ones to have.
And I remember the Hiss driver was so cool.
Which one's the Hiss driver?
He's red with like a blue front and these like high black boots. Had these silver.
Oh, okay, yeah.
On his helmet.
Oh yeah.
You know, I backed the HasLab. I should know what it looked like off the top of my head.
I can't wait for that HasLab. I'm excited for that tank. I'm so curious to get my hands on it. I like, what's interesting, I was a kid that liked to take my toys apart and put them back together to see how they worked. And I did a lot of that. A lot of times I took them apart and they never went back together. But I grew up, I liked sculpting, I liked drawing, I liked painting. And there's so much amazing design and visuals with G.I. Joe.
It's true.
like the Cobra logo is a perfect logo. It's perfect. Like I went to art school, and one of the things we learned was logo design, and one of the things I really hate doing is designing logos for people. There's a lot of people who think a logo should be like a full page ad that explains everything about their business, and it's not the case. Like if you look on your phone and look at your apps, those are logos.
Yeah.
Like a simple design that instantly you recognize it and associate it with a brand. And like the G.I. Joe logo is great, but that Cobra logo is absolutely perfect.
It's good. It's good.
It's simple. It's easy recognizable. It's stunning. They knocked it out of the park.
It works in one color.
Yeah.
But you can also you can touch it up. You can do things with it. It's just amazing design. Ron Rudat absolutely nailed that logo.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, no. The Cobra was the most enjoyable bad guys, if you will. Because sometimes you were like, no, you guys are kind of like on the right path.
Well, it's interesting. Because they were multiple personalities, right? In that, like, the Cobra command structure. If you look at like the Transformers, you had Megatron, you had Starscream being a pain in the ass, you had Soundwave would kind of repeat things.
He was the parrot.
You had like Shockwave, who was kind of like Shockwave was always like the go-to guy on the Decepticons.
He wasn't around. He didn't appear in a whole lot of episodes.
He doesn't, but whenever he popped up, you knew that like Megatron needed something like very super specific and needed it to be done without any problems.
Yeah, but kind of like that was it. Like there were other Decepticons, but their roles were minor. You didn't kind of get to know them at all. But with G.I. Joe, like the Crimson Twins, Destro, Major Blood, the Bear, like you kind of got the personalities of those characters.
They fleshed them out,
yeah, they fleshed them out some more, and it just it made for a better story. Kind of knowing,
and for the most part, everyone had a role, right? Mm-hmm. Where, like you said, with Transformers, it could be Thundercracker or Motomaster or whatever, but it also could be random bad guy number 3. Mm-hmm. Whereas with Cobra, every character that had a face had a role
name.
And a name. They had a specific role to play in this, vicious organization. And that was one of the things that made it great. And then they could play off that. And it also wasn't like pandering to the audience. It wasn't showing these kids, here's some brightly colored Vipers, and then that's all there is. It's, hey, but here is, at least with the guards, Crimson Guards, you got the Crimson Twins that, run them, and, Baroness with her counterintelligence and stuff like that. Like, everyone had a role, and for the most part, they executed it.
Yeah.
There wasn't the bumbling buffoon. Cobra Commander was, but
yeah, it was just both groups were just these terrific, well fleshed out ensembles, and in any episode you could take, whatever personalities you kind of wanted to play with, from each side, and just go to town.
I don't think I've ever heard it said that way, is that they were very fleshed out, and I'm sitting here thinking about it as you're talking. I'm like, no, like he's pretty on point with that. It's probably why it was so successful, is because everybody had their counterbalance on each side, and everybody did have their own role, right?
Yeah, well, even like with the file cards, right? Every Joe had a pay class, right? In E6, whatever you want to, all of them had that. All of them had a specific role called out on their file card, whether it's a medic or, a mechanic or whatever. So again, it wasn't just, here's a random robot who can transform into this, which again, Transformers is like my top tier, so I'm not shitting on it. But just drawing parallels.
And I'm not trying to say it's like it's trash compared to G.I. Joe. I'm not saying that. Like it's amazing, but
it's a different show.
it's a different show. Yeah. It's a different thing.
And I think that to go back to earlier, it's because Joe is like, you could almost see that being mostly real, right? Like, you could see there being some sort of weird evil organization, and the GI Joes have to go in and battle it, and everybody's got their thing, right? Like, it isn't just explosions and transforming robots. Yep. Again, in general, just like, since we're drawing parallels, but I think GI Joe did, like you said, it did a very good job at fleshing it out, and it did expand into those toys, and that was just something else.
So here's another thing. So I look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the reason I think it worked is because that first Iron Man movie was grounded. Tony was. You saw him building a rudimentary suit in a cave, and you understand that he progressed it over time. So it was grounded in kind of, even though it was high fantasy, it was kind of grounded in reality, and it didn't trigger your whole suspension of disbelief to fail.
Yeah.
Joe started out 5 minutes in the future, not quite full sci-fi. When it started out with the guys in green with recognizable weapons, fighting this organization with more advanced stuff, but you could still wrap your head around it and think, hey, that could exist in the real world. And then over time it progressively got more and more sci-fi, more and more out there, but it was grounded in reality. That's where it started. And that helped me. That helped my brain think this is cool and this works.
Yeah, and I mean that's one of the reasons why I liked it as a kid. It's funny, as an adult, Transformers is my go-to. G.I. Joe's a number 2, but as a kid, it was like 80% G.I. Joe's for me. And I think part of that was the figures were like, what, $2.50?
Yeah, they were certainly affordable.
They were short money, so my parents would constantly get me them. So I had hundreds of Joes. Never 2 of the same one though, so I was never able to army build as a kid. But that was part of the catalyst, I guess, is the availability. It was there.
I don't know.
It was easy.
I don't know anyone that was able to army build as a kid. Like that wasn't part of anyone's vocabulary that I'm aware of. Even Star Wars before that. Like, I don't know anyone that had more than one stormtrooper.
Yeah. I think it was, we were kids, and it was, I already have this one.
Yeah.
Can I get a different one that I don't have? Instead of, oh, this guy's pretty cool, he's a faceless trooper, give me 20 of them. Because
that way you could have the battle.
Yeah.
I think, go back to the toys, I very vividly remember like having these elaborate like setups and play like scenarios with them. They were a lot more customizable to do that. Like, you could, because of their size, like Transformers were like that big, Silverhawks were even relatively bigger, Thundercats, they were all bigger. But G.I. Joes, you had these little guys and you were like, phew, you're flying now. Or you had them run down a zip line and stuff like that.
Or anything could become a base.
Yeah,
grab
exactly.
a couple couch cushions, prop them up, and it was a base. And it was a believable base because of how small they were, which is amazing.
Yeah, right. And it was, Star Wars kind of kicked off that 3 3/4 thing, and it was all about being able to have the vehicles in a realistic size that they could produce to market them and sell them. Yep. And that worked. I mean, to me, I was more in love with the vehicles than I was the figures. Although, I love the characters and the comic books and the cartoon, and that was a character-driven thing. But the toys, like the vehicles, for me was just it. Just, oof.
They were they were also really well done, and They were designed really well, and I'm like drawing a blank on the word, but they had like there was this one big base. I forget what it was, but it like when you pulled it out, it like stacked out like this. It was like 3 levels, and the details the word I've been drawing a blank on. The details on the inside, they had like little areas designed for like, you know, hanging out and everything like that, and I was like, this is awesome.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name though.
Yeah, that was after
like
my
battle
time.
bunker or something
After
like
it was
that.
out. But yeah, what was that thing? Yeah,
That
I can
was
picture
cool.
it.
Right?
I remember I had the General as a kid. That was awesome to have.
I just saw one of those like a week or so ago. Somebody was selling one at a local toy show.
I went through all my old toys not too long ago, and I found the helicopter that comes on the General and the missile.
One? Yeah.
Then the missiles, but I can't find the General. I'm so angry.
Huh.
I love that thing as a kid. That and what was the? This is probably I think from the Deke series. What was the little battle bunker thing that was green and it came up like this and missiles popped out?
Battle bunker or something like that.
Did I get it right? All right. That was always my favorite as a kid. I found that, which is amazing. So I pulled that and put it aside. It's like you're gonna stay right there, nice and mint.
I remember wanting the Sky Striker really bad, and this was a couple of years into my collecting, like 1 or 2 years into me being into GI Joe, and I had talked about it enough that my mom actually got me one, and she bought it on layaway from Sears, and I got it for my birthday, and the day I got it, my little brother broke it. And I was so upset, and my dad, like, he glued. He used some type of like thick epoxy or something, and it looked like a giant booger was hanging on the thing. It was bad. I would have eventually destroyed it myself, no doubt.
Course.
I would have played hard myself, but that I didn't even get to break it first. That hurt me deep. But you know, now I've got 3 or 4 of these things. So
nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do you tell your little brother he can't touch them because he's gonna break them?
Yeah, I mean, my little brother is like 43 now, but
No, that's right. That's what I would. That's what I would do to my brother. You can't touch this. You broke this once when we were kids. This is a replacement. You don't get to go near it now.
yeah.
Or he has his own set aside, so when he comes over, here, you play with this.
Yeah, my brother's
Comes over. Yeah, when he comes over, mostly we just drink. But he's in South Florida and I'm in Colorado, so it's not too often.
Yeah. I don't picture that being too easy of a quick get together.
It's not like a 20-minute drive over.
Yeah. Not so much.
Although my brother does live a half hour away, and I see him like 3 times a year.
I'm lucky. I live. I've got a couple of cousins that are local, and I see them about once a year. I want to see them more, and it just doesn't work out.
Yeah,
it's tough.
Adulting is hard.
Kids and everything.
Yeah, my thing is I was smack in the middle of things where my brother's 10 years older than me, and most of my cousins are around that age, 10 years older than me. And mind you, my brother's 10 years older than me, not like you, where we have a lot in common. My brother grew up, played with real life cars, and that was it. Never came back. Never, boomerang back into collecting or toys or that stuff. And then I have cousins on this side who are like 10 plus years younger than me. So here I am, stuck in this void. And I don't see most of them. And I mean, I like them all, but I'm not sad that I don't get to hang out with them more often just because I have nothing to talk about.
Yeah. It's like my sister. My sister lives out near Chicago. We rarely talk, but when we get together, we have a blast.
Yeah.
You know, like when we get together, we just have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
How much older than you and she?
3 years, I think.
Okay, it's not too bad.
Yeah. And when you're young, it's a big deal, but then when you get older, it's nothing.
The gap closes quick.
That gap closes up. Yeah.
Once you graduate high school, age is just kind of like, oh, whatever. You start working at places and your best work friend is like 25 years older than you. All of a sudden, that's how it works.
Yeah. Like my closest friend is 9 years older than me.
Not me. Just so we're clear.
Yeah, no, it's not Nick.
My friends are kind of they're all over the place. I got some that are 20 years younger than me. I got some that are 10 years older than me. Like they're just everywhere.
Right.
My problem with the young ones is I can't keep up with them. Like I don't want to be drinking till 2 a.m. every night.
I'm way past that.
10 o'clock and I'm passed out hard. Thank you very much.
I try and be in bed by 8 so I can be asleep as close to 8 as possible.
I was gonna say asleep by like what 10? Because when I go to bed, I'm like, I don't fall asleep right away.
Well, for some reason, so I was in the military for pretty much my whole adult life, and like I wake up at 5 a.m. And there doesn't seem to be anything I can do about it.
Yeah.
So when the sun's going down, I start getting sleepy.
It's that internal bugle just going off every morning.
Something like that.
Yeah, close. So when you got back into Joe, like you obviously, like most people, you got out of it for a period of time, where we all think we're too cool for this stuff, and then we realize no, this stuff is cool, and it's okay to like it.
Pulled me back in was a bit of I started getting into 3D design. I had been building models for a couple years, and I really kind of got it really sort of exploded for me because I was deployed a lot, but I was able to get my hands on models and build them, and that's how I would kind of spend a lot of my spare time. And then my wife got me into kind of 3D design, 3D printing, and I was just having a lot of fun with it. And I just one day thought to myself, it would be really cool to get some like old G.I. Joe vehicles and just kind of customize them. I'll paint them up like a model, make them look worn. Completely oblivious to the fact that there's whole communities based around that as a hobby. But at the time, I was able to get on eBay and find anything I wanted, and it wasn't that expensive. So I started collecting all these toys that, I had a couple things as a kid, but like the vast majority of that collection I did not have. So I started getting stuff, and then it was time to actually put paint on it and start doing things. And like I couldn't bring myself to do it. So I started. Yeah. So I went down this path of kind of creating custom things that I could put on them without causing any destruction to the piece.
Nice.
And that was kind of the infancy of me doing 3D design and toy design. Was that, and then Classified comes out 2020 or it must have been 2020 when Classified finally hit.
Yeah, about then. Yeah,
and man, that was it. That really pulled me back in, and that's
so you recently got pulled back in.
No, I would say Classified got me online. Classified got me into Facebook groups and got me to realize like, oh, gotcha. Snap, there's a bunch of people that collect this stuff and customize things and do all this. And because I was just unaware, I wasn't online, I wasn't in Facebook doing any of that stuff. But Classified pulled me into the community. Classified pulled me into the communities.
There you go.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But there's I imagine there's a lot of guys like me out there still just doing this stuff in a vacuum, unaware that they're not the only one. It's interesting to kind of meet those guys, because every once in a while they'll pop into one of the groups or into my Instagram or something and be like, I didn't realize other people did this. This is awesome.
There's more of me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's always a realization where you're like, you get really happy and you're like, I'm not by myself anymore. I'm not not just hanging out.
So
for myself.
2021, I went to Joe Fest for the first time,
Nice.
And just have you guys been?
No.
I haven't. No.
It's amazing. It's all these people that, and it's not just that they're into GI Joe a little bit. They're into it enough that they took time off of work, off from their family, and traveled to Augusta, Georgia from wherever. Like they're
Yeah.
into it that much. And so you get there and it's just, you can strike up a conversation with anyone, everyone's super nice. It's a great time. And that was another thing that sort of just like really cemented my love for GI Joe.
The community.
It's finding out just how real and awesome the community is.
Yeah. I mean, even I'm sure you've heard of the Finest, right? The cosplay group and stuff. Like they're
I've made a handful of props for some folks. I wouldn't
Nice.
mind. I'm not svelte. I need to lose a few pounds before I strap myself into some type of costume.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's fun. That's fun stuff, man.
Yeah, that's the way I always am. Is if I'm gonna be in something that's fitting, I need to make sure that I lose some weight and tone up. And the character that needs to have a beard or wear a mask, because I'm not sacrificing this.
Yeah,
I've had this since I was 16. It's not going away.
I've had this for, I guess, a year. Yeah, I punched out of the military little over a year ago, and like this is by law I'm required to have a beard for like 2 years.
There you go.
Because you spent all that time shaving, you're like, I'm not touching this.
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't even know if I could.
Yeah.
I didn't even know if I could.
Yeah, because you said you went like straight out of high school, right?
No, I didn't go straight out of high school, but I got out of high school pretty young. I went to 2 years of art school, got an associate's, and then was in the military. So I was
20, 21.
19 or 20. I think
Yeah.
in 19.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Nice. Did G.I. Joe have any influence on that?
No,
No.
I was gonna. That's what I was gonna ask. I was like, did you join the military to become Sergeant Slaughter? Because
I know people who have-
every small child had that.
Sergeant Slaughter didn't even
dream.
join the military to be Sergeant Slaughter.
I had that dream.
Stolen valor.
So, no, I had we had moved from Northern Illinois to South Florida, and I went to the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale, which was less fun than it sounds.
Sounds like Florida in a nutshell.
I worked at like 2 full-time jobs the whole time I was there to kind of pay for it. So, but I got done with school. I was still pretty young, and South Florida at the time had like 3 different art schools, and it was just like saturated with all these graduates, and so I was just not finding any work. So I was working in the food service industry, cooking, and I just needed a change. So I joined the Navy as a lithographer. So I ran like printing presses and stuff.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Things you didn't know. I didn't know the Navy had a printing press.
Yeah, I went to the defense mapping school. So like some of the larger ships.
That makes way more sense. I'm like, what are they making, a newspaper? I don't know.
Well, you think about it, like if we're gonna drop a bunch of propaganda on something, easiest if you can just make it right there.
Yeah, that's true.
But we made training stuff. We made memos, a lot of training materials, a lot of that kind of thing.
That makes way more sense than whatever going on up here.
I remember we did this non-combatant evacuation operation of Sierra Leone in '97, and we had all these refugees coming aboard that spoke all these different languages, but none of them were English. So like we created like little cards to help translate and
like flashcards.
Oh, that's
around.
cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Sweet. You learn something new every day. That's pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Did that get to actually utilize your art degree? Were you designing some of them?
Yeah. I did a little bit of art, but more like page layout and design, which goes a long way. Like making something that's visually striking and easily followed, and has to be clean. So yeah, I got to use some design stuff. Well, I got out of the Navy in 2000. I was just going to do 4 years, and that was going to be it. But then September 11th happened, and I re-enlisted and took a completely
Nice.
different career path after that.
All right.
So you chose a different job at that point.
Yeah.
In the military?
I was a crippy after that.
A crippy.
Yeah, cryptologist.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
That's a little pivot.
Yeah, big pivot. Well, when I had been in the first time, I had friends that had that job, and what I knew was that I was out of the loop on just about everything. When you're on a ship underway, like unless you're part of, unless you have a job that's like directly involved with whatever mission's going on, you're not necessarily in the know on where you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it.
it's all happening over there.
Yeah. So I knew that my friends that were doing the cryptology, they were part of the mission that was happening. So I wanted to do that. So,
Nice.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. So you wanted to be in it. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. It worked out. Like if I had just been a lithographer, I would have gone to big deck ships and worked in a print shop, gone to shore and worked in a print shop, gone to a ship and worked in a print shop, gone to shore, worked in a print shop. But because I chose the career I did, like I had a pretty diverse thing. You know, I got to fly all kinds of aircraft. I got to be a ground operator. I got to do some space stuff. I got to ride subs, ride ships. I did a lot. It was pretty cool.
Was that what kept you engaged and continuing to pursue the career?
For a long time, yeah. For a very long time, it was just, it was always a challenge. It was interesting. It was exciting. As I got older and got promoted up and up, my opportunities to be operational got less and less, and
Sure.
the jobs got kind of less interesting. So at the end, it was rough. At the end, I wasn't in love with it anymore. But
The farther you get away from the base level, the less you're involved with the base level.
not quite
So
sure.
you were, huh?
I don't quite follow what you mean.
So like the farther, like if you're, I don't actually know a whole lot about the military, but if you're like over here doing this type of thing, if you start getting promoted, at least in most other places, you get farther away from the actual job itself. Right, like you're not doing the fun stuff anymore. You're like, at least with my work, you're like sitting in more meetings, and it's
Oh
like,
yeah. The last 2 years I was in, my job was to check email.
Oh, jeez.
right, like you're not even doing the cool stuff.
Time to retire.
Yeah. I spent a year just compiling COVID data and reporting it and checking
Jeez.
email. It was awful. It was horrible. It was really bad.
So
Well.
you're an analyst at that point.
Not
input.
even. Not even. Just
Ugh.
cranking out PowerPoints. Cranking out reports. This many people are infected. This many people have their vaccine. This many people recovered.
Jesus. And then boom, out comes classified and
And now
takes
you're-
off to save us
And
from all that.
And they're great figures, man. Like I really like the way in the short time we've had them, they've evolved.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're just knocking it out of the park right now. They're great.
Yeah, I was excited when they announced them, and I jumped on board with the first wave. Except for Destro. I had this stupid idea that to save money, I'll just go with Joe's. Just like, I'm just going to buy Autobots. Just going to buy Autobots. And then I got every single Decepticon.
That's the silliest thing I've ever heard.
It is. Well, I gravitate towards the guys. I'm more interested in a face with a name than just a number and a mask as far as like, the characters' figures go. So that's why I thought that.
But Deathfield has such a rich and vibrant history.
I know.
What are you talking about?
he makes some bad choices.
He did. That's the metal face, right?
I'm talking about you.
Oh, I did.
You
But
make
they all put up. Yeah, stop it. And then I was like, all right, so maybe I'll just, to save even more money, I'll just stick to the Renegades cast if they make them, right? Because I don't know if you saw the Renegade show, but that was fantastic. Yeah. That was an amazing cartoon that I wish The Rock didn't kill. I don't know if you know, Nick, but they didn't do a season 2 because that's when G.I. Joe Retaliation was coming out with The Rock. And they wanted to separate the two. They didn't want people to think jacked up Rock is the same as the fat Roadblock from the cartoon. So they completely like divided. Yeah, no, but
was that actual reasoning? Did you hear that someplace?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons.
No kidding.
Yeah.
This was before I was
back
in the Facebook groups and so
yeah, that's one of the main reasons why they killed it, because they're focusing on the movie and they wanted to like separate the two, the ideas of the two. Which, by the way, that's one of the heaviest collecting I did was that Renegades line for the I think it was the 25th anniversary.
Okay,
I got every single figure on card still. Those designs are amazing, even though they look nothing like the cartoon. But apparently, insider tip, they were designed to look exactly like the cartoon, but higher up said no, and they changed them. But yeah, so that was my idea. But then I got the figures, and you're right, they're amazing. You need a little shock oil on the hips so they don't snap off. But other than that, the first wave, okay, not bad. And then I started going deeper because they start going more real American hero designs. And then it's just like, okay, that's beautiful. Why didn't that come out earlier? I want it.
And now we're talking like that Pursuit of Cobra timeline. And that, just holy cow. Just all loaded with amazing accessories, great sculpts, great figures.
Yeah,
and it was just amazing. I was gone. I missed it. I missed the whole thing. I found out about it after.
Yeah, that's one of my caveats. Is I love if there's accessories, I want them to be able to carry them. The accessory needs a purpose. I don't want it to go in a Ziploc bag and disappear. I want it to be on them. And the Pursuit of Cobra, the 30th line. I think it was the 25th.
That whole thing is great to me because it was like 25th and that rolled right into the 30th, and which there was
the 25th was 5 years long.
Kind of like one thing after another.
Yeah,
and they were making really good stuff.
Yeah, I liked how they started to introduce mask.
Oh, the Matt Tracker.
Yeah, which is fantastic. That like mask is still one of my all-time favorites, and I would kill even if it's just 6-inch figures that they throw one character in a series with the classified and they call him a Joe Special Missions Unit or whatever. I'm fine with that. And give me a HasLab with a Thunderhawk or something. I'm okay with that. I'm one of those weirdos where it doesn't have to be the vehicles because the character designs fit right in with Joe. I like the whole. Vehicles, I do. This was just completed the other day.
Wow.
I've never had one. I always wanted it since I was a little kid. It's Dusty. 2 Dusties.
Oh, you got 2. Okay.
Yeah, because my wife got me one, and then I got the other in a lot that came with the short mask. But yeah, and I've always wanted it since I was a kid. Never had one until a week and a half ago, and then I went crazy on eBay and completed it.
They're rough, man. The prices on those are not going down.
Yeah. I think all in, I'm $75 on that. And
I mean, is that the only mask thing you have right now?
Oh hell,
or do you have?
Okay. That's the only thing. So when I got my first job when I was 16, I took every single paycheck and went on eBay and bought everything from Series 1 and Series 2.
Oh, wow.
Which
it's just one of those things. It's like if I had a time machine, I would go back to when you could buy things on eBay cheaply.
Yeah, when they were cheap. Yeah, like I have Boulder Hill and everything.
Oh, wow. Nice.
There's only a few accessories I'm missing for some like the race series. And then I didn't give a shit about the split second, so I never got those. But yes, I would love it if they would take those because they keep renewing the IP and stuff, the trademarks.
Yeah,
they integrate them. Please, I'll take a 6-inch Matt Tracker. Honda McLean. I'll take them all. I'll take them all. but and especially with the way the line's going, you know, the real American hero stuff, you know, they're dipping their toe into the Deke stuff. Obviously, the Range Viper's coming out. You know, so that stuff would transition and melt well. But yeah, with the classified too, just to go back for a second, I did go back and I bought Destro and I bought Baroness and I bought Cobra Commander, and I got every single figure now, multiples.
You get your 00 Snake Eyes?
No, I got the regular, because I'm not collecting them like that. Like, I need everything. Mm-hmm. I want the best representation of the characters, and for me, that's the Commando Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes now, for sure.
Mine was the Commando Snake Eyes. So I got the 02 or 01 Snake Eyes, not the 00, but the regular single pack one. Yeah. And then, because it's the Ninja one, I was like, all right, it's Snake Eyes. And then the Commando came out with Timber, and I'm like, fuck it, that's my new Snake Eyes. This one's gone. Same with Roadblock. They came out with the heavy artillery one. I'm like, that's my Roadblock. This other neon wannabe version 2 can go kick rocks. And that's exactly what it did. He's hiding somewhere now.
So there's talk now. There's an interview with a game designer who talks about that. I guess there's a Snake Eyes video game coming out.
Okay.
I need to go watch that. Like, I would love a video game for G.I. Joe in the style of XCOM. Have you ever played XCOM? Like, that's the way to do it. Like, have an ensemble, have people with specialties.
Yeah.
Assemble your team, go do the mission.
I used to love you ever play the Conflict series?
Conflict?
Yeah, so it was like Conflict Desert Storm. It was Desert Storm 2, Conflict Vietnam. And what it was is you were a team of 4, and each one had their own like specialty. And you could use, I think XCOM. Did XCOM have the headset that you could talk into and delegate your team?
No.
Or that was SOCOM. SOCOM.
Yeah.
So you could.
I was confused. I was like, "What are you talking about?"
So in Conflict, you could delegate your team. Like, you go over here, and you could tactically set up attacks. But you could also personally switch first person between all of them. So if you wanted someone exactly in one spot, you could switch over, control them, and go do it, and then like execute the attack. You could tell them to fire on sight, stuff like that. That's something that I think would be cool if they made a Joe game like that.
Yeah, like a Snake Eyes game can work for sure as a single player kind of doing some stealthy kill mission. I mean, you think about it as like Metal Gear Solid, Splinter Cell, right?
Yeah. Like, I was going to say Tenchu Stealth Assassin.
Yeah, you can do a game like that, and that's fine. But I want my ensemble,
Yeah. But have it so you can pick your team.
I was gonna say you got to limit it though, so you can't have everybody being the same person. You're like, nope, like Mario Kart. Before they were like, you can change the colors and you can have 8 Yoshis, right? Before it was like, once you got to that person was gone. But have that for like G.I. Joe.
Yeah, but even, take it a step further, you can have different skins for the characters, right?
Right.
But yeah, still, you're not going to have 2 shipwrecks on the same team.
Right, exactly. So once somebody got Snake Eyes, everybody else would have to pick from somebody else.
Yeah.
But as long as I don't make like a Snake Eyes like ninja movie, watch it be like more Sub-Zero mythologies. A side-scrolling Mortal Kombat where you're Sub-Zero, but it's Snake Eyes now.
Yeah. Oh, that game.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
Yeah, it was Sub-Zero mythologies, and it was a side-scroller, and you were Sub-Zero, like going on missions and doing like side-scrolling stuff instead of a fighting game.
Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance it was a little bit different than that. It was almost like a quest-based game, but you picked like a Mortal Kombat character, and then you'd have like fights in the middle of it, but it was like a 3D arena, if I remember correctly. It was an interesting game. But I think now I'm like really interested in playing a G.I. Joe game.
I mean,
way more than I was like 2 hours ago.
if they come out with that game where you can, team based and all that, especially nowadays, It'd be, oh, you want to play as heavy duty? $4.99.
Right.
You know,
These little
and that's a
microtransactions.
problem.
Well, or it's just updates. Like you can like I don't know if you ever played XCOM, but it takes place over the course of years. You know, you're developing technology, you're doing all these things, and it's over time. You can have team members, you know, come and go
Yeah.
over time, and you know, have expansions. Hey, here's the Tiger Force expansion.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
You know, more missions. You can have like the drug enforcement thing. You can have the
headmaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would actually be a really good idea.
Yeah.
If anybody's listening to this, please do that.
Yes, please.
Just do it.
You think about it, like how many, you know, you could have Arctic missions, and you take your Arctic guys, and having them on the team gives you a bonus. You have all Arctic guys, you have like a big bonus for I don't something. But you know, you've got all these different snipers.
Yeah.
You got like it's
There's so many options.
There's so many options. Yeah.
Like,
I'd really rather see like a big ensemble thing where you can control what you're doing versus just like picking one or two characters and that's what you're stuck with.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Like you said, like mission based.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of like, and that's one of the reasons why I love the Renegades cartoon. Not only is it, did you ever see it, or is this still like?
I've seen a couple episodes.
Okay, so you know the premise.
CGI one, right?
It's different, yeah.
You know the premise. Cobra's Walmart.
Cobra's Walmart.
Cobra's Walmart.
So this is why that's what I heard. The reason they canceled it, or the reason it kind of came to an end, was because they sort of approved the show and they did it, and then the executives saw it and went, "Oh man, like we need to be able to do business with Walmart. They're not going to like this. So don't do this
too." Yeah,
that's what I heard.
It was so good, just the whole thing. But I liked how every episode was kind of like that, where something was going on in a town or wherever, and there was another Joe there helping them out. Like there's a problem at the docks, shipwrecks in that episode, or there's someone, an arsonist in town. Well, there's barbecues hanging out with them.
Yeah.
It's like that was cool. It was a great way to introduce all these different Joes without oversaturating the show.
Yeah.
That was one of the coolest things about it for me is those characters popping in and out. And it's like, oh, hey, look who it is. Who are we going to get to see this week,
Yeah.
I lost my shit when Zartan came on. Especially when they gave him, like, he got that armored suit that gave him the cloaking technology. And that character design, in my opinion, was just fantastic.
What about Resolute? Like, how'd you feel about that?
I like the character designs. I think the animation was a little stiff for me personally, but the story and everything was great. I don't like that it was only like an hour long.
Yeah,
it should have been.
That's my biggest complaint is that it was too short.
Yeah, that was
most of the guys I talked to like want more of that.
Yeah, I'll take it. It was violent. It was good. It was mature.
Yeah, and there's a scene in it where, spoiler alert, like somebody was on watch and Storm Shadow had snuck on board the flag and killed somebody, and they find his body, and they killed Bazooka, man. They killed Bazooka. What the hell? Like, but
yeah.
Like in my head, like, well, who would I rather have seen them kill? Fucking Windmill? Like what? Like Skidmark? Like I don't. There's a handful of Joes that are. I don't want to say they're throwaways, but they were, never really had. They never had a cartoon presence. They really didn't have a comic book presence, and so I didn't have. You're gonna make people angry with that one. You're gonna make some folks real angry with that one.
That was one of my favorite figures as a kid.
What did you say?
Shockwave. It was pretty much Beachhead, but all blue with a cap on.
So, there was a G.I. Joe Special Missions comic book where he played a big part.
Okay, nice.
No, I really liked Shockwave. He had a great gun. He had a great knife. He was a great figure, man.
Yeah, like I said, he was one of my favorites. I loved him as a kid. He's to me, he's a random one, right? He's not like the heavy hitters. He's not your
Right,
bazookas or your gung hos or your roadblocks, all that. He's over here, with Cutter, right? Yeah,
Okay.
Cutter's a
Yeah.
great figure,
Cutter.
right? He comes with a
I
vehicle.
mean, was he great?
but-
I never had a whale.
Yeah.
I never had I never had a Cutter.
I
But
had the
as
version
a
two.
Navy guy, Cutter was a coastie, so yeah, kill him.
Yeah. But yeah, that was just Shockwave to me, because was he ever in the cartoon? I don't think he was.
Shockwave? No,
Yeah.
no way.
So that's
Unless he showed up in like a Ladder Deke episode and I don't remember it. I'm
Probably like
trying.
the
I'm trying to
background
muscle my way
guy.
through those. I picked up
ARAH.
all of those on DVD. I don't think they even have them on Blu-ray. Maybe I can't remember. But oh man, yeah, they're rough. Jesus.
The character designs were amazing though. Like the character designs were great. Like so one thing I keep pushing, and I wish they would this would come in an Action Force line, but I would love to see a Desert Scorpion in the Action Force line to go along with the Scarabs and the Swarm.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
that was a good figure, and he sure as shit showed up in the cartoon.
And
A great file card too.
Yeah.
File card, great read on that one. It's like the Cobra, the Vipers that aren't performing well, they throw them in with the Leaky Suit Brigade, and they become Toxo Vipers. And then if they still can't get their shit together, they make them Desert. Yeah.
I never read that. That's awesome.
I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that correctly.
Oh, that's so awesome.
I'm gonna look that up because I don't want to.
Even if it's that adjacent, it's still like that is awesome. Instead of just firing them, but I mean,
they're just gonna keep demoting them.
As bad as the series is to watch, the Deke had such good designs though. Like even that Cobra Commander, that armored up Cobra Commander is badass.
Here we go. Nobody volunteers to be a Scorpion. It is a punishment given to undermotivated Vipers who refuse to follow orders. In order to survive, they quickly learn to mimic the attack patterns of the venomous desert scorpions with which they live. After 1 year of unblemished service as a Scorpion, a Cobra Trooper can be reinstated in the Viper Corps or whatever special force he originated from. A Scorpion fights hard because he knows that if he messes up, he'll go straight into Toxo Vipers. I had a Cobra Hostile Environment Detachment, better known as the Leaky Suit Brigade.
That is awesome. That is so.
That's a great file card, man.
It is. That's so good. Yeah, I gotta read more file cards.
So another one you get around that Deke time frame is like the Alley Viper, which is bright orange and blue. Is the most ridiculous color scheme of all time, and I love it.
Oh, yeah.
I love the Alley Viper, man.
I got 4 of them sitting right there.
Very nice.
Which I think that was really the pivoting point for Classified too. Pretty much the Alley Vipers, and then it just took off from there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful figure. There's game like the mech games that I play. Like I'll deco my giant stompy robots like Alley Vipers.
Nice.
And like that'll be what that mech is called, Alley Viper. Like
we getting a version 2 Alley Viper, the green and black or yellow and black.
I'm mixing it up. I don't know if that's. I feel like yellow and black is version 3.
Okay, maybe.
Now I have to check
because there's red and there's just a repaint of the version 1, and that might be that's version 2 or 3. That's red and black, right? And then the like yellowish green and the black with the actual like fanged mask.
Yeah.
Those are badass too.
All right, so there's definitely a version 2. Version 2 is yellow and black.
Okay,
and
that's the one.
Version 3 is an orange and blue, but very different than the first one. And yeah, it's got fangs.
Yeah. As a kid, I loved it. I would love a classified version. It can be like the officer, the Alley Viper officer,
Yeah,
Viper officer.
there's so many things. I want this line to just keep succeeding, and kind of keep reaching in and grabbing some obscure stuff. And yeah, who knows what we could eventually get. Eventually we can maybe start getting some new characters.
Yeah,
I don't know how the community would react if it's too soon right now. Like if they started introducing new characters right now,
like brand new, like them creating a new character, or
yeah, I think a lot of people would be like, "Whoa, you haven't even made Quick Kick yet. What's going on?" But at some point they're gonna have to. I think.
Yeah.
Things I never thought I'd be talking about at our ages. So the toys that they make now are infinitely better than the toys we had when we were kids.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Sort of. Right? Like, everything's 6-inch now. That's what's hot.
Yeah.
But 6-inch means we're not getting play sets. We're not getting vehicles. We're not getting a lot of these other things that I sure did love. Like,
I think that's a great point, right? Like the figures themselves are better made, but there's less to do with them.
Kind of. Yeah.
Well, they're more collector based now as opposed to like playability. That's the
kids today want skins for their Roblox characters. Kids aren't playing with toys. I've got 3 boys and they don't care about toys. They like Legos. But like they'll build their Lego and then they're done.
Yeah. So this stuff's more for collectors. Even though it's marketed for kids, it's still sold to kids. Like,
it's
and
definitely
the kids are kind of priced out too. Like you said earlier, like the G.I. Joe figures when we were little kids were $3. Now they're 22, 23, 24 and up.
Even like the lesser, like you can't buy an action figure of any variety nowadays for like less than $10.
Pretty much.
Like even the most basic of figures for like the fleeting time frame where it's like, I'm gonna pick on it because it just popped in and popped out of theater, like the Avatar 2 action figures that they came out with. Right, but like I'm talking about like the
what was
the things that are like we're throwing it at you guys.
I mean, it was the highest grossing movie of all time, right? Like,
yeah, but like,
they're blasting the toys, right? Like they're out for like 3 or 4 months, and then the stores clearance them out, and then they're gone from the shelves because that's now replaced by
the next thing. Yeah.
Right. The next thing. Like Black Adam figure.
Like the Black Adam. Yeah. Like
that's kind of weird.
Well, half the problem is
it's because we both walked through a Target recently, I imagine. You've got a solid stack of Avatar stuff. You've got Star Wars. I think it's going to have its place.
Right. Star Wars is always going to have a place. Transformers seems to have solidified itself in a different toy aisle. You've got the Roblox, like you said. There's a whole Roblox / Minecraft section. And
you got wrestling figures. You've got Masters of the Universe seems to be hanging in there pretty well.
It does. Kind of like right next to each other, right there. You got,
but there's no new stuff. Like comic book characters, your DC, your Marvel. Like a lot of that stuff's been around for 20, 30, 40 years. Star Wars has been around for 40 years. Master of the Universe that's an 80s property. Like like Avatar.
Like you have those like it just so we're clear, I'm talking about I'm not specifically picking on Avatar for anybody listening, but like you have those like toys tied to the movies that like the new hit movie. Like I fully anticipate. I didn't notice it the last time, but I fully anticipate a whole bunch of Flash toys popping in.
The Flash movie is a bit of a multiverse movie, and they're there.
Yeah, but there's a difference because like superheroes are everywhere, right? You know, McFarlane's got the license to do the 7-inch line, and there's always a superhero on the shelf. Flash, Batman, they fit into that category. Avatar, like, granted, they're cool designs and all that, but it's just,
well, that's what
it's so. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say. I brought them up specifically because it's that complete, like, they're here for 3 months, and even those toys, like, they're like $10 a piece. Like, that was the whole idea, is that, like, back in the day, like we talked about, the Joes were like $2 or $3, which made them attainable for kids. Like, you could go get one with your week's allowance, right? Or 2 weeks allowance, depending on time frame, whatever. But you could go get one. It was pretty easy, and then the later ones, when you broke the rubber bands on the inside, you could replace them easy.
Yeah, now you snap the hips off and you're screwed.
Yeah.
There's so many people making custom parts, replacement parts. Like,
yeah,
you can, it's
You're
available.
screwed.
Like, they made so many Joes. They made millions of G.I. Joe figures, millions and millions.
Yeah.
Like, they're if you want it, you can get it. You might have to pay a little bit, but everything's available.
Yeah. So, that's one thing I miss about the new figures, that was the charm. Some of the charm of the originals, like you said, you could take them apart. I had so much fun. Too. Not as easy though.
Not as easy. Not as easy.
It was so easy as a kid. You just get a little screwdriver, pop the body apart, and you're done. You can mix and match. And I used to do that all the time. I had
I definitely did that. I didn't know how to put them back together.
I never did that. I've had conversations with people recently who like, apparently that's all they did. Like, they couldn't wait to get their figure home so they could take it apart and mix it. I never took a single. The first time I took a Joe apart was probably like 4 years ago, and I just replaced a bunch of O-rings and put them back together.
The disintegrated O-ring.
Yeah.
No, I had a Serpentor mixed with a Xandar. Like, I had that, like, concoctions and stuff. That was half the fun. Is just making your own characters. That, and I used to love freezing them. Take a little Dixie cup, put them in there, put them in the freezer.
Yeah, the carbonite.
Yeah. That was half the fun, because they could fit in a little Dixie cup easy.
Yeah.
That was a blast. It was just the scale was just so easy for playability. One of my favorite vehicles that I had was the little blue and black submarine that you could put a guy inside, and you put a little Alka-Seltzer tablet in it.
Seriously?
And it would sink. And then as the Alka-Seltzer tablet dissolved, it would surface. That was one of my favorite.
Like, I know the sub you're talking about, but I have no memory of, like, having an Alka-Seltzer tab.
I don't know if it was an Alka-Seltzer tab or it was something that you put in it and it would sink, or not fully to the bottom of, like, the bathtub, which is where I usually put it. It would dissolve and then it would surface.
So it's called the Barracuda, and it had real diving action and torpedo launcher.
Yeah. I gotta look it up.
Dive action tablet for real diving power.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it was just an Alka-Seltzer tablet. You threw it there, and as it dissolved, it popped back up.
I'm pretty sure we all made we all had like the makeshift versions of those, where it was like put a little baking soda like inside like the toy submarine, and it was like that's when it would go down and stuff like that.
It could have been. Oh man, did it come with wetsuit?
No, it didn't come with any.
Okay. So there was a picture with the wetsuit. That was my favorite wetsuit, the version 2.
Version 2 wetsuit?
I think so. The yellow and black one that had the removable helmet. That was my favorite wetsuit.
What? All right, I'm gonna find him. Hold on. Version 2. Yeah, he's wearing a lot of gray, but it looks like the version 1.
Okay, it might be version 3 or 4 or
Oh
5.
yeah, the black and yellow with the
Yeah,
weird gun,
yeah,
weird gun,
yeah.
and a big clunky helmet. Yeah, I have that figure. I got him in a lot.
No, nice. Um, so the little question: who's your favorite figure?
Right now it's shipwreck, and it
Okay,
has been for a little while now. And
is it?
that's a Navy thing.
I
When
was
I
gonna
was a
say
kid, so before shipwreck existed, it was Destro.
okay, nice, nice. You excited for the classified shipwreck?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Looks
yeah,
pretty good.
yeah.
Looks pretty good.
I'll definitely have a an open one on my desk, and then I'll have my sealed in box one as well.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited for that one. Him and rock and roll
Yeah, yeah.
and
Like I
snow
said,
jump.
rock and roll was my first figure.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a big one for you. I'm excited for Snow Job.
Yeah,
I
always liked
loved
Snow
I
Job.
loved him as a kid.
Yeah, as a kid, like he had skis.
Yeah, he had
But
skis.
yeah,
He had
but you know
snow.
what?
He had snowshoes.
He had a good,
Did, wait,
good. No, he
did
didn't
the
have snow.
skis pop out of
It
his
didn't
boots?
No, you clip them
pop
on his
out.
boots.
No, they attached to his backpack and then plugged into his legs, and he had ski poles. And the ski poles and the skis attached to his backpack, and he had like he was the guy that came with the XMLR 3A, the laser rifle that all the Joes carried in the cartoon. That was the only way you could get that was with Snow Job. So he was like accessory wise, he was one of the best figures, hands down.
Yeah,
And I liked
and
him. Like I liked playing in the snow. I lived in northern Illinois, so
yeah,
I like trying to get him to actually ski down like a little hill I would work, and it never worked.
and he looks like he's gonna be one of the best classified figures too. It looks awesome,
Yeah, it looks
and
good.
he gets store all his
No,
gear too. Like I'm sold.
the guys they have sculpting these things are just absolutely crushing it.
Yeah, yeah, they look fantastic. I'm still cross my fingers that they'll make my favorite Joe, who's always been my favorite Joe since the Deke series. I'm sorry, Captain Gridiron.
Oh no!
I,
I thought somebody did a really good custom
yeah,
of one of those I saw posted the other day.
yeah, I saw that. It looked pretty good, but I still got my original figure, like with all his accessories, and that's the one I want to see in the classified line. I don't know why. I've always loved them.
They'll get it. They'll get it to him.
Oh,
I think he was. No kidding. He was pretty popular. It
Yeah.
was just after. It was just after my time.
They're crushing it though. They're like people complain, and there's always the is classified dead? All those trolls, but they pumped out a lot of figures in a short amount of time. If you actually think about it,
They're
like I think they said the end of 2023 there'll be 100 figures out total. Like that's a lot within a couple of years.
We're almost halfway through 2023, and I think we're up in the early 70s.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think.
There's a bunch that they've announced like name only.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, we're getting.
You got to think we got like Lowlight's coming out, Big Ben,
Hawk, General Hawk.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're calling him General or just Hawk right now.
Just Hawk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
so maybe
Hawk
we'll
right
get
now.
Colonel Hawk.
Yeah, I mean, and
That's a character that. Yeah.
God.
No, he just he like issue number 1 of the comics. Hawk was there. He was in charge, but he was a colonel wearing green.
Yeah.
Actually, he wore a lot of like Class Charlie's, like the army dress uniform.
Yeah.
But yeah, when he made it to the cartoon and was wearing like the leather bomber jacket, like that's when he became like a real beloved character.
Yeah. Yeah, he's. I'm excited for him, and I'll be honest again because of my love for the Deke series, the designs. I'll take him in a flight suit too.
Yeah, with that
version
golden
4
jetpack thing.
Yeah, I'll take that. Absolutely.
I feel like that's version 3. No, I'll look that up. I mean, it's so much. How do you keep it straight?
Yeah, but I mean, there's so much, and they're
version 6. What?
Yeah, they threw out a lot of him.
Version 3 is the jetpack with the missiles and the big space helmet.
Which one's the one where he had the sunglasses and the red shirt?
Version 4, and with a revolver as big as his arm.
Did he come with the backpack that had
sounds? It's one of those Sonic, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Commanders.
Yeah, I had a couple of those. I had Cobra Commander, and Dial Tone for those. I like Dial Tone too. I hope we get a Dial Tone soon. That'd be pretty cool.
Okay, so that's 4. Oh no, version 5 is rough. What happened? Version 5 that looks like he's not even part of the G.I. Joe series. He's no Armored Tech Commander. It's Star Brigade.
Oh, okay, there you go. Oh yeah. It's gold and black.
And green. Yeah, it's a bunch of stuff. And then version 6 was a mail order, and it's like a amalgamation of everything. It's like a neon green. It's the flight suit one with the big helmet.
Yeah.
And he's got like a Sonic red LEDs and buttons to make noises.
Oh, okay.
On a jetpack that's black. Like,
huh.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I don't think I've ever laid my eyes on this before. There's so many. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like I'm kind of learning about a lot of stuff for the first time because of that long period where I was out of it because I'd just grown out of it.
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's nice to.
But that's awesome, right? Because you're experiencing it for the first time all over again.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, you haven't been oversaturated with it like a lot of people, and I mean, you know, me included, because I don't think I never watched like Sigma 6 or anything like that, but as things were coming about, you know, I was there for Resolute. I was at like 2010.
Did you ever see any of the? I think it was Valor versus Venom came with these CD-ROMs that had little cartoons on them.
Never watched those.
And that is like Spy Troops, like, oof.
Yeah. So, when I forget, I was a kid, right, playing with toys, and then at a certain point, you're too old for toys. You're too cool for this. You can't be doing that. You gotta like, you know, girls and cars, and then. Nick's never had that.
I'm like the weird kid who like never got out of it.
Never. Most people do. And when I was 16, I got.
Yeah, there's a handful of guys that I've met that never got out of it and like took care of their toys, and I still have the toys that were theirs when they were a kid. They still have, and they're in good shape.
Oh, so I got plenty of those because I found out when I was a kid, if I break this, my parents aren't buying me a new one. So I was not smashing toys together. I was playing nicely. So I was good with that. But no, when I turned 16, I got my first job, and it was at KB Toys. And that was probably the worst thing I ever did, because that was around 2000, 2001. And I just used that employee discount to its full effect.
And they had clearance like crazy at that place too.
Yeah, I was getting all the 2000X He-Man figures, ton of those, like the Ronin Warrior figures.
Wow, those were cool. My brother had a bunch of those. I never had one, but my brother had them. They were pretty nice.
I still got all of them.
What was the series that came out? It was Mask, but it was called something else.
Vortex.
Yeah.
I got those
now too.
I got those. All from when I was a kid.
I'm jealous, man.
Teenager. I was buying those Earthworm Jim figures, the Mighty Duck figures. Like, I was buying everything when I was working there. But I bought so many of the Joe. I forget what they call them. It might have just been like G.I. Joe versus Cobra or whatever. But the 2-packs. That's where like the Spy Troops came in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I still have like probably like 100 of those things.
Wow.
And it's because it was Joe's. It was my first love, as like a mass collection as a kid. And I went crazy with that. And then, of course, eBay with Mask. But like, my paychecks were gone the second I got them. I was just like, yeah.
My first job was at a diner that was in the town I was in. And like, I mean, I've been working full time since I was 13. Like, I turned 13 and got a full time job.
Nice.
And I blew most of my money on comic books and the gas to get to the place that sold the comic books because it wasn't nearby. Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up in the woods, but about a half hour away from civilization, so not too terrible. And I still live in the woods, and I'm a half hour, 40 minutes away from any Target or Walmart, so toy hunts are very difficult for me.
Well, where I'm at now, I think there's where I'm physically at this moment. I'm a little further away, but my shop where I work in Denver, I've got like 5 Targets I can drive to within like 15 minutes.
Oh, nice! That's the dream. I
say
that, but
like I pre-order everything now.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
very rarely have to go searching for shit. I like looking at the shelves and seeing what's there.
The comfort of a pre-order is amazing because you got it, right?
That's the only way to know.
And especially for I work from home. You own your own business. Nick works from home. When a pre-order drops, we can just jump right on it. That's the beauty of for us. But nothing beats the thrill of actually going in a store and finding the thing you're looking for, and just that utter excitement of holy shit, it's actually there.
Yeah, there was a time,
the instant gratification of walking away with it.
There was a time when I was collecting Star Wars pretty hard, and there was no G.I. Joe at the time. But I mean, like, there was no pre-ordering either. Like, you had to toy hunt
before the internet really exploded. Like early 2000s, even like late 2000s. The internet was a different place. It's not what it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I personally still enjoy the toy hunt. Like, I could pre-order a whole bunch of stuff, but I work from home, so if I don't go to the store, I'm not leaving the house.
Yeah, same here.
I use it as my way of leaving I gotta go out.
Yeah, there's definitely you get like a little bit of dopamine when you go to the store and you see a figure on the shelf and it's like, I'm buying it.
Yeah. And there's things that I wouldn't buy if I didn't see it in the store. Yeah.
I'm also kind of cheap, so I shop clearance racks really, really hard.
Can't do that. I get too afraid that I'm going to miss out. So many people.
There's a fear of FOMO, right?
Well, it's not that. It's like if there's something that I know I'm going to like or want, I can't go and be like, I'll pass because I'll wait till it's on clearance. Because guess what? Then it never goes on clearance, and now I got to pay 3 times as much to get it. I can't do that.
That's fair, right? But you feel it. But is that rush of like finding. You're like, I've been waiting for this, right?
It is. I'm trying to get that rush with the Jada Toys Ryu figure.
The what figure?
The Jada Toys Ryu Street Fighter.
Ken and Ryu.
They get the license now, and they're pumping out. Yeah, Jada. Amazing figures. That Ryu, however you pronounce it, is fantastic. They got him and Fei Long. Chun-Li's coming out next. It's just a gorgeous figure, and it's getting rave reviews by everybody. That's on my must-have list.
Going back to Transformers for just a split second, since we talked about it earlier, shopping the clearances, like one of the things that I didn't even realize was a thing was the reaction figures that they put out for the Transformers. I weirdly like the simplicity of them, but I found Optimus Prime after he died. So it's like dead Optimus Prime. I was like, this is a very weirdly specific.
Yeah, it's a little dark.
Huh?
Little dark.
Right? But I was like, oh man, this is so good.
The important part is Optimus sacrificed himself so Duke could live. Okay?
That's right.
If it weren't for his sacrifice, we would not have Duke be alive.
That was the plan. They were going to kill him.
Yeah, and then all the kids cried and freaked out because Optimus died. So they're like, "Oh shit, rewrite this."
Interesting, right? Like, in the G.I. Joe comics, they kill people.
Nice.
Like there was a whole issue where like a bunch of Joes were in this bit of a not the pit, but like a crater. It was like Doc. It was like a bunch of Joes, and the Saw Vipers mowed them down.
Shit.
Yeah, that's awesome. What I said. I was a young man, and I was like, Oh my god, they just killed like seven.
That's great. That's perfect
I think it was
because
a Cobra Kick was one of them.
there needs to be stakes. Like
Yeah.
that's what makes things compelling, right? Like, to kind of circle back real quick on like Star Wars, right? Half the reason why that the Obi-Wan show can only be so much is because two things are certain. Obi-Wan can't die, Darth Vader can't die. So anytime
Leia can't die.
anytime either of them are in danger or peril, there's no stakes because you're like, they'll be fine. Or Leia, he's trying to save Leia and it's like, she ain't gonna die. I don't care.
Fine. In fact, this is boring to her because she doesn't even remember this dude.
Yeah, right. It's almost like they didn't know what they were doing when they wrote the plot and the story.
I had such high hopes.
Kind of like
commercials for that. You saw Luke as a kid sitting on the hut.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
So excited. So excited for that.
Yeah, I like Luke on there.
You know what? Like there was good stuff in that series. There really was. Like, I really liked. A lot of people did not care for the way the Inquisitors were portrayed, but I didn't have an issue with it. Like I enjoyed most of that show.
I actually think they were portrayed really well.
Yeah.
Like.
No, the thing that was worse. The worst thing for me was young Leia outrunning grown-ass adults, and like that actress is fine, but like she's not winning any marathons, you know what I mean? Like that was hard to watch, that particular bit. But
you with your stubby kid legs. Yeah. I mean, it was an okay series. Same thing when you see Luke sitting there, it is a little exciting, and then is he gonna bullseye some swamp rats in his T-16 Starfighter? Or I was a Family Guy when they do that clip, when they do the parody, and he's like, I used to bullseye T-16 swamp rats with T-16. And like,
whoa.
Yeah, that sounds like
animals is an indication of like a serial killer.
Yes.
Yeah, that was Blue Harvest. Yeah.
Oh, that was so good. So good. Those parodies are amazing.
Yeah.
Speaking of parodies, what is it? Is it Community that did the G.I. Joe parody?
Yeah.
Community did a lot of things.
No, did you see that episode, Nick?
Yeah, I saw the whole series.
The G.I. Joe episode?
Yeah.
When they're like, yeah, Cobra's retreating, yay. Oh. The other guy's like, let's fucking kill him, and just start slaughtering everybody.
Yeah. Destro's getting away. Maybe not.
Duke and Scarlet are sitting there like mortified. So
yeah. And this is one of the things I like about the G.I. Joe community, and especially like in the 3D printing community that I'm part of. Like all of the characters from that show, there are action figures of. Yeah. The Submachopter. I don't know how vividly you remember that episode, but they get into a thing called a Submachopter. Like somebody has designed the Submachopter. Like it physically.
Submarine helicopter.
You would think. All it did was fly. Like we didn't see it go underwater. We assumed, right?
Okay.
Did it look like a submarine, but in the air? No.
No, it was a legit looking thing. It looked like it could have easily been a G.I. Joe vehicle. They just made they got in it. Like it was like, get to the Submachopter, and they got in it. And somebody made a comment about who's flying this thing anyway. It's not a thing. It's a Submachopter. Who's flying the Submachopter? Like it was part of the episode, and I'm sure I just butchered it. But
oh my god, that thing looks horrible.
What? I don't know what picture you're looking at, but it can't be the right one.
Maybe not. It says Submachopter. Batteries not included. Some assembly required.
They did like a commercial, like in the episode. They did a commercial for the toys in the episode.
Oh man,
that's the thing.
Yeah, that name makes no sense.
No.
I always enjoyed watching the cartoon, like VHS tapes, and having commercials for the toys in the middle of the VHS tapes.
Yeah, those were gems. That's what I missed too as a kid, right? You open up the Sears catalog or whatever, and seeing like the ads for the stuff with a checklist and all that. I miss seeing those. Like those are golden.
You just got Mark in the heart.
The freaking Sears catalog, man. I remember highlighting stuff and circling stuff. Never got any of it. Ugh.
It was like the ultimate. It was the ultimate. Like, this is what I want. Yeah, we're gonna not pay attention to any of that. We're just gonna get you clothes.
Yeah. My dad would get us like we would get one toy, and it was from like Radio Shack.
The GoBot. Ugh.
That's not true. Like we did pretty good at Christmas. Me and my brother and my sister and I. We did all right at Christmas.
Listen, Mark. I know you wanted a GI Joe, but they're like $3. Here's a 99-cent core figure instead.
We got you Joe G instead.
No, that was
I got a really nice knockoff of Shockwave, the Transformer. Right, I got a really good Radio Shack Shockwave knockoff that was fantastic. It was just like the wrong color. It was like gray instead of purple.
Shorkwave. I think, like, I'm hearing this and I'm like, I was an only child until I was 9, basically. So, like, I got a number of years where, and I'm like the opposite of you guys. Like, I'm one of the oldest grandkids, so like I'm on the high end of the spectrum. So like, there wasn't like another grandkid, but after me for like a few years. So I think I kind of got, it was like, I got a few toys every Christmas. I looked it up while you guys were looking up stuff and talking about other things. The mobile command center is that big thing that I was talking about that kind of like stepped out, and I was like, it turns
like a
out,
tackle box.
Yeah. Fun story. I lost my Game Boy in that for about a year, or it was like 6 months. The battery, I pulled it out. I was like, that's where that went. And then I turned it on and played, and then like got sidetracked because I was a small child with ADHD even then. So I got immediately sidetracked and started playing Super Mario Land instead of playing with G.I. Joes. And then like 45 minutes later, because the batteries lasted in those things forever. It was like 6 months, a year later, whatever it was. And I was like playing Game Boy, and I was like, oh crap, I pulled this out to play with G.I. Joes. And then I went back to G.I. Joes. But it turns out I also had the General. I was like,
I think that's a big boy.
It was. It was this big toy. So
you know what's weird? Like growing up, I didn't know a single person that had the flag, but now
like, you know, like 5
in these Joe groups. I mean, it's like you don't have 5 flags. What's wrong with you?
Yeah,
like,
right.
People just have them now. Like it's normal.
That's because in these communities, we're going to call them, because I'm part of any number of them, it's just what we did. Like when we were growing up, when like as we got older, we were like, nope. Once people came back to it, they were like, no, man, I want to go relive my childhood, so I'm going to go buy that, right? Or they've collected it and pick it up at a yard sale or whatever thing that people do to find some of these things, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they struck it rich and they get paid $1 million a year, so they just go buy them on eBay. I don't know what people do, right? But that's what we did, and that's like ultimately, like I just saved all my toys. Like my mom was a my mom has hoarding tendencies, so when she never made me get rid of any of my toys. So like I've got bins of toys that I don't even remember what's in some of them. I can't get to some of them, but that's a whole different story. But
I know, like within the Joe line, there were a couple of big items. You know, the flag, Terradrome, that shuttle complex, the General.
Fuck, I was one of the Terradrome.
The Terradrome's the only one that I want. Like I come across them from time to time, and rarely are they close enough to complete that I would bother. Yeah. But eventually, that's on my list. I'll buy that. Even if I came across a flag, I wouldn't. I have no room for that.
I was gonna say, where are you gonna put it? The thing's like 6 feet long.
Place for it. But a Terradrome, like I'll I'll kick one of my kids out of the house or something.
Well, you still got to find room for your classified hiss.
Find room for what?
Your classified hiss.
No, I got a spot. I got a spot picked out for it.
Nice. I got to find one for mine. They pissed me off. I was talking to my buddy when, we all knew it was the hiss before it was the hiss, right? Mm-hmm. And I was talking to my buddy. I'm like, I don't know if I can get behind a G.I. Joe vehicle. I'm like, you know what? It's gonna definitely have to have an open. The cockpit has to be cool the way it opens, right? I was hoping it would be like the version 2 hiss where the jaw kind of went down,
which was supposed to be the version 1 hiss, but it was too much.
I like that part of the version 2, but I was like, nope, it's got to have working treads, and the back has to open up because I want it to carry some figures. And then they're like, hey, here's the HasLab hiss. It's got working treads. It's got an opening back hatch where you can put figures in with the flight a jump seat, whatever the hell it's called. And then it's like, oh, it's got lights and everything. And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Back.
they did not hold back on that thing. That thing was,
no.
I can't wait.
And for what they're giving us, I think it's priced fairly. But what pisses me off?
How many figures? Like 4 or 5 figures come with it?
I think 4, right? You got the driver,
tactician,
the tactician,
commander.
the female, and the Cobra Commander. So
yes,
I think it's 4. But that's right there. That's $100. That's $100 right there. But what pissed me off is they're showing it off and they're like, oh, and look, a little tow hitch for future use.
Oh yeah,
and it's like
that was.
Are we getting an ASP?
Yeah,
are we getting an ASP?
They really shouldn't have showed it.
Yeah, because that should have been a stretch goal.
Well,
if they're going to show it,
right.
And then I got excited.
It's smart of them to include it as like future proofing, like in case they do something.
Yeah,
but everyone was like
towards
FMS, ASP, something.
Yeah,
and. So maybe down the road.
Even I was hoping when they were like, "Oh, here's scrap iron with the drone," and I was like, "Does it have a tow hook? Because if it does and it's big enough, I'm sold. I'll throw that on the back of the hiss." But nope, it doesn't have a tow hook on it or a receiver. So they're just breaking our hearts left and right with that tow hook.
Yeah. So one of the things that was great about the Joe line, the Real American Hero line back in the day, was that they had, across the brand, price points for different things. Small play sets, slightly larger play sets, small vehicles, medium vehicles, large vehicles. And I would love to see some small play sets, some small vehicles coming out, so we're not getting, motorcycle.
Yeah.
In theory, there's a Trouble Bubble coming, but it, kind of weird because it was like San Diego Comic-Con of 22 when they announced it.
Yeah.
And since then, so much stuff has come out that I'm hoping it's not forgotten.
I mean, they at least showed us the digital renders of it, so hopefully, I would assume next.
Bubble?
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, there's digital renders of that with the Televiper. Joe. Which I'm getting 2 of those because they're going to be flanking my hiss because I only bought 1 hiss.
So shoot! You're right. I forgot about this.
Yeah, I would not forget about that
because it was so long ago.
I'm too excited for it. But here's the other thing too, right? So by the time this airs, I'm sure we'll probably already know, but they're obviously coming out with a Joe HasLab really soon. I know it won't be this, but I want a vamp. And why I don't think it's going to be a vamp is, but the vamp has to be mainline. It has to be in store. It has to be in brick and mortar because that's too easy. They can remold it as a Stinger, or not remold, recolor Mark II. And if they put out a HasLab for that, even if it comes with the what was the missile carrier called?
The MMS.
MMS.
There's a bunch of tow stuff. The Whirlwind, the HAL. There's a number of towable options.
Yeah, but the thing is, which would be great for like stretch goals and unlocks, but if they make the vamp in a HasLab, what are they going to do? A vamp for the Stinger or the Mark II? People are going to get pissed at that. You know, to recycle a mold for a future HasLab, or if it goes in a HasLab and now they put it in retail as a repaint. Like, I don't think people are going to be happy with that.
I don't know. I think people want stuff, and I think if we do the HasLab and it gets us a vamp and 1, 2, 3, 4 figures and a towable, like we get a big set of things with the HasLab, and that enables Hasbro to put a Stinger on the shelf. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah,
especially if the Stinger doesn't come
at a significantly lower price point.
Yeah, that's the caveat.
Like, you get the bundle from HasLab, and that allows for the other thing, but separate at, you know, your favorite retailer.
Yeah,
I really want a vamp though. I was mad because when Renegades, before they canceled it, they had like another wave of figures coming out, and they had vehicles, and they had Flint coming out, and they had a vamp coming out.
Wow.
And you could find the pictures online from that toy fair for that year. I think it might have been 2012. But there was like action features where like a pop-up missile thing for it, like side missile pods. And they're also coming out with, or they were going to come out with the Coyote, which, you know, was the Cobra vehicle that the Joes commandeered and took over and rebranded as their Coyote.
Yeah.
I wish they made those, because I definitely would have grabbed those. Especially that Coyote. I love the Renegades line.
We're into it, huh?
Yeah, it was so good, and I was so pissed too because they finally gave you the missing member of Roadblock, but it was in that like $150 SDCC IDW box set.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Luckily, I was able to get Roadblock off eBay for like $50. But I got him, but I'm a little sour because every other figure is mint on card, and then he's just sitting there loose by himself.
Yeah. I want to see the vamp you're talking about, but I'm not seeing it.
Oh yeah. Let's Yeah, because there was that. There was a Coyote. There was like a version 2 of Firefly. Speaking of which, you know, rest in peace, Ray Stevenson.
Right? I couldn't believe that.
It's nuts. Yeah. 58.
That's my favorite Punisher, man. I loved that Punisher.
He was
that Warzone
and everything. Yeah. Yeah, he's going to be in the Ahsoka series that's coming out. Like, oh. Come on.
Are you in any of like the Jajo 3D printing group? Any of that stuff?
No, because I don't have a 3D printer. I don't 3D print, so I'm usually not in those. But I like anything on like the classified sites or anything, I kind of keep an eye on.
All right. I bring it up just because like there are a bunch of people that have made amazing vamps in classified scale.
Well, I know there's someone that made an amazing ASP. That thing's badass, dude. When I saw that, I was like, "Holy shit!" I found a link. I just put it in our chat. It's
now I'm looking for the chat. There it is.
Yeah, you see, there's the Coyote and there's the Vamp, and it's so Renegades and so toyetic at the same time. They're not a lot of pictures and they're not that clear, but you kind of get a taste. I think there's more online too, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I have that Cobra Trooper figure.
Yeah, beautiful figure. Those are so hard to find too. I hunted down 5 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, and those are so hard to find. That and then Storm Shadow was impossible to find. He was like instantly on eBay for like $60. I found one in stores, luckily, but that was like, you know, by wing and a prayer. But yeah, that coyote is just badass looking. There's another website that had pictures, and it shows like the action features better.
Those are nice.
Yeah.
What could have been?
Yeah. You and I both know someone that has that coyote, and I think that vamp sitting in their living room. By the way,
in their living room, living room, or in the basement?
I don't know, one of the two. But yeah, and I've begged to see it.
I've met a handful of people that have some of like the prototype stuff. It's so wild, like the possibilities. Like you see this thing that they had almost all the way designed, and they have a mock-up, a prototype, and like just nothing.
Pretty much fully tooled too.
Yeah. Well, that might have been the coyote. Might have been tooled, but
yeah. Well, that's back then. You know what I mean? Like they're not 3D printing stuff back in 2012 and all that. They had to actually like make this shit.
Yeah.
Or something, So they invested serious money, I'm sure, into that stuff, and just to go by the wayside because whatever reason,
it's off Walmart
or something. Yeah, I'm gonna go watch that series after.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do too.
It was so good. That's and they kind of try to do that with the Retaliation movie, right? It was kind of the same thing. But if they could just make Renegades in an actual movie, that would kill, If they can make a G.I. Joe movie that's true to G.I. Joe, it would kill too.
But. That's and there it is, right? That's what they've managed to not do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Renegades is definitely not what I was picturing this entire.
So the Retaliation was better than than Rise of Cobra, for sure, because it's more grounded. It was more realistic. There wasn't Sector 7 and advancement suits or accelerator suits.
Oh my god.
Whatever they called it. It's the Sigma 6 accelerator suits. I thought it was so funny because I don't know if you remember the trailer for it, but Ripcord, Marlon Wayans looks over and he's like, "What does it accelerate?" And I remember someone making an edit, and it just cuts to them going, "Our ratings." Like, yeah, okay, that's valid. But yeah, then the cast and Channing Tatum is Duke.
What's weird is like had that been an episode of the cartoon, totally would have accepted it.
Yeah. But the problem is, it was our first taste of a live action G.I. Joe. Like that's not what we want. Give us that in movie 3 or whatever, something like that. Not
got to ground the first one.
Yeah, but at least the second one, Cobra Commander looked like Cobra Commander. Everyone looked the part. Firefly looked amazing. It was dumb that he just walks out, Destro, you're out of the band. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, that was the dumbest thing in the world.
Why?
Like, it makes no sense. I like their iteration of the Hiss tank. That looked pretty good in the movie. It looked realistic. It looked grounded. All the uniforms, they all look grounded. They look like, I was in the military, but they look like actual military, uniforms and stuff. So it was good.
One thing I didn't like is they rescue Cobra Commander, they bring him back to this base, and like some random guys, like the way he spoke to Cobra Commander, I didn't like that. The guy who explains to him what the Hiss is.
Oh, hey, you're gonna like this
little scene, but I was like, why would he talk to like no one? Do you ever remember a single trooper talking to Cobra Commander like he was an equal?
Or ever talking to Cobra Commander?
Exactly.
If they got to reboot G.I. Joe as a movie, which supposedly they are, I hope, because Snake Eyes was a bomb. They got to go with the storyline.
That wasn't even that. Like in my opinion, the Snake Eyes movie was the best of the 3.
I like Retaliation, just because it was more like it was more military, more realistic in my eyes. Snake Eyes, I'm not a huge Ninja fan. I don't want to see this shit. I liked the original Storm Shadow better than the one that was in the Snake Eyes movie. The actor and everything.
He was my favorite part of the whole movie. Was the guy that played Storm Shadow.
Yeah,
he was the best part of that whole movie for me.
I like the other one better. I like this Scarlet better. I think she looked to the part better than the other one from the first movie. But they just made some weird choices overall, and I want them to reboot it. And I want the Cobra Commander used car salesman storyline though.
Yeah. I want that. Not Cobra Law. He's a 1,000-year-old bug person from the Himalayas.
Maybe he is, but we don't know that until like the third.
No,
movie,
I like the used car salesman one too. Like that's totally where I'm at.
It's so good. It's brilliant.
But that's the thing, right? They gotta build it up. You gotta start small and build it up. Don't
drop you into the middle of it.
See, the scary part nowadays is everybody wants to be the MCU, and they want to be the MCU now. They don't want to, like you said, they don't want to do the groundwork of here's a real,
here's Iron Man.
Yeah, here's a realistic adjacent Iron Man movie that could possibly happen. They want, hey, here's everything all at once. We got 6 villains because we want to cram them all in. Not slow burn. How many movies did it take for us to get Thanos? And the reason why it was so good is because it took that many movies.
A decade to build up to it.
Yeah, and you
got to know all these characters a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
So by the time you got there, you were invested.
You cared about his character. He fucking kills Loki in the first 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like that. So they set the stakes right off the bat. Like, hey, this is for real.
This is real.
Yeah, he is who we told you he was going to be. And that's what anyone else that wants to start a movie franchise or continue is what they have to do. What kills me is the fucking Transformers. Just fucking reboot it. Like, we're not, people aren't idiots. Stop it with the Michael Bay flat, explosions where you can't even tell where one robot ends and the other begins in half those fight scenes.
Yeah.
And then they gave us Bumblebee, which I loved Bumblebee. That was a solid movie in my eyes, especially all the Cybertron scenes. Fucking amazing. And they just can't let the old Michael Bay ones die, because it was like, is it a reboot? Is it a prequel? And they're like, oh, it's both. Because if you notice, it follows the continuity of all the other 5 movies. So it's obviously...
Which one does?
Bumblebee.
Follows the continuity of the other.
So Megatron's not in it because he's already on Earth frozen. You don't look at even Rise of the Beasts, right? We have a Porsche 911 that's Mirage, not Jazz, because Jazz hasn't come to Earth yet because it comes to Earth in 2007.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
So there's all that continuity that they're sticking to with this, which pisses the hell out of me. But Unicron's in Rise of the Beasts. He's the main villain. But in The Last Night, they say that Unicron is the Earth. So I don't know what the hell they're doing. They got to start over.
Just call Megan Fox back, because...
No.
I'm kidding. Just so we're clear.
Although she was better than her replacement in the 3rd movie, in Dark of the Moon.
Rosie Huntington or whatever her name was.
Yeah.
I still think my favorite part about that whole thing was Megan Fox, you're fired, because Michael Bay had problems with her, and then he was like, they were like, Michael Bay, you're going to do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Who do you want to be April O'Neil? Megan Fox. Sure.
Yeah.
I guess. Whatever, man.
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about, but politics, right?
Yeah. Moving on from that, but yeah.
Yeah, they got to do a G.I. Joe movie. They got to start off with Ground Zero, right? Start off by building the world. I'm okay if I see Serpentor, and I want to fucking see Serpentor, and I love Serpentor.
I would love to see Serpentor in the 3rd movie.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be amazing. Even if it's the 3rd movie, they tease they tease him or whatever, and it's the 4th movie or the 2nd trilogy, if we're ever so lucky, is the Serpentor saga or whatever, where it's something like that, because then they're never going to get there because they're doing shit wrong. They got to do it right, lay the groundwork, and commit to this stuff.
Well, with the Snake Eyes movie, I feel like that they were trying to do that. They didn't blast us with 20 cameos. It was Snake Eyes and Scarlet, that was kind of it. You had Storm Shadow,
Storm Shadow Baroness.
you had Baroness. Yeah. It's kind of it. Like they were trying. I think that's what they were trying to do. But I don't know. They Snake Eyes sold a lot of toys for a long time, and they're trying to rely on that magic to just make it work. But then they took like possibly the most famous and beloved character from the whole G.I. Joe franchise and changed him, and that just turned a lot of people off.
Yeah,
I really liked it.
That's awesome. I think the biggest thing is like he gets a suit, right? And the suit's only in like the last like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then he can speak throughout the whole thing. Like he never loses the ability to speak.
Sure, none of that bothers me. What bothered me is he wasn't a good person. He was kind of a scumbag the whole movie.
Yeah.
And that turned me off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of his family dying in a car accident, and that whole big coincidence story thing, it was his dad got killed, and that's okay. That's not bad. That's fine. I don't know. It was a missing something. But the stuff that bothered a lot of people didn't bother me.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it the whitewashing that bothered people that didn't bother you? Or the yellow washing, I think they called it.
I don't know. I can't think of the guy's
I heard a
name
lot
now.
of
the actor that played him is a great he's a good actor. I like him.
I was okay with him being Snake Eyes. Yeah.
Some people were angry. They didn't like the Baroness. I had no problem with that. I don't know if you saw. I think it's called Money Heist on Netflix, and she's Spanish. That's a Spanish show. But she's fine in that, and she was fine in GI. I had no issue with any of that. I had no issue with. There's a moth flying around me.
Oh, jeez.
I had no issue with Scarlet. I wasn't a big fan of the giant snake, but again.
Oh my God! I forgot.
If that had been part of the cartoon, I wouldn't have blinked twice at it. It would have.
It was part of the cartoon. Cobra Commander turned into it.
No, there you go. That was Cobra Commander.
Imagine.
Was it?
No, that was Cobra Commander, and what they're gonna tell you is, in Snake Eyes 2, he was gonna be reverse engineered into a man, and he's like, "I was once a snake."
Once a snake.
Oh man, the wacky shit they did was so good.
I'll be honest, I didn't see the movie. It's on my list of things to watch, but I didn't actually get around to seeing Snake Eyes.
I gotta watch it again. I saw it in the theater and I haven't seen it since, and I want to watch it again and see if it's different.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see a movie the first time, and sometimes their theater experience blinds you to some of the stuff, but
But there's a lot of things there's in a lot of ways they held back in that Snake Eyes movie, very deliberately, and it seemed like very intentionally they were trying to use that as the starting block, as the groundwork for more, and they just missed something.
The something more is what you missed.
I think you guys talked about it. Everybody's trying to jump into the middle. Yep. And that's it. Everybody's too afraid that if they start at the beginning and they tell something that doesn't make $700 million,
yeah.
They want the movie to make $700 million, and if it doesn't make that, it's a flop, and we're not doing the next one. You know, that's really what it comes down to. Is you're right. They should build it up, and if they don't make the net money back, plus times 7, they're not going to do it.
And a lot of stuff they need to get people who are invested in the IP, who understand it. You know, I think that's half the problem is you get too many money hungry executives involved, and they steer the direction that don't know the property, and they just kill. Justice League is the prime example, right? The Joss Whedon version was a terrible movie, but then the Snyder cut was fantastic, and they're all worried. Oh, it's 3 hours long. We can't do this. No one's going to watch it. Well, guess what? People watched it, and you know what? They went back and they watched it again because you re-released it in black and white, and people watched that version too.
Yeah,
you know.
I was so my hopes were not high when they I was like, I don't know how much they can cut it and change it and make it better than that hot garbage that it was, and I loved that cut.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Like I gave
it's a whole different movie.
Yeah,
it's a whole different movie. It's incredible.
I'm the weird kid who's like, I actually enjoyed the first version of the Justice League movie, but I took it for what it was. Right? I wasn't going into it having like these massively high hopes. I went into it thinking this is gonna be hopefully a dark version of, you know, all of these movies put together, and it's gonna have some continuity errors and all these other things, you know, knowing that the person who wanted to make it, like knowing the whole, you know, drama behind the entire thing, I went into it with like low expectations, and you know, it went slightly above them.
I had one friend who I said after I watched the Snyder cut, I was like, man, it was really good. I couldn't believe it. And I had one friend who was just like, well, if Josh Whedon had $20 million extra and an unlimited time, he could have made it better too. I was like, Jesus, dude. Whoa.
Look, I like Joss Whedon. Can't really knock that. But at the same time, he's not built for it. Like, he can do stuff with that. Like, he has a proven track record of being really good at certain things, but I think it needed that finesse that Snyder brought to it in order for it to.
Well, not only that, but it was Snyder's vision, right? It started with Man of Steel. It was he had a vision that he wanted to see through, and that's you know how he shot Justice League. And then they came in with Joss Whedon, he chopped it up, rearranged it so it was a completely different story, and like just butchered it. And that's why it was not a good movie, because that's not anything of what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be the Snyder cut, with, you know, and they should just, well, people keep on saying restore the Snyderverse. Like, let him do his movies. It'll make money.
Now I'm blanking on this guy. It's the guy that was playing Deathstroke.
The guy that played Deathstroke?
Deathstroke.
Oh, Deathstroke. Jason Manganiello?
Yes.
No.
Yeah. That's not his first name, but
Joe
Manganiello, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I liked him.
Perfect. I love that character. I was
the goatee looked a little fake, but he looked good.
Oh man!
I think in my head,
I'm so happy to see him in it.
I spent a lot of time watching the whole Arrowverse type of stuff, and I was like, I kind of went into it, you know, being like, this person played that character, and I had to switch my gears because I was used to Manu Bennett playing Deathstroke on TV.
Yeah,
who I
like
thought
Grant Gustin playing the Flash, and then you have Ezra Miller destroying.
Who knows? Maybe we'll get all of them in this Flash movie.
Supposedly they all like filmed cameos and shit. Even Linda Carter filmed a cameo as Wonder Woman. Supposedly, I heard they got cut. So I don't.
Oh, I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did.
Which is dumb. Like, just leave them in.
That was one of the.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. Like, it could be done right and it could be done wrong. You know. But yeah,
Okay.
like the whole DC universe backtracking is saying, "Oh, it's been a multiverse all along." That's sketchy.
But
Sketchy.
if it's Ezra Miller going to the other world, the other multiverse, whatever, and he's in the Batcave with Michael Keaton, and there's a TV on the background, and Linda Carter is fucking Wonder Woman on it as Linda Carter now, I'd be okay with that cameo. Like I just want to see that shit, you know?
Linda Carter was the president on Supergirl.
Oh, nice.
Like they straight up brought her in. They're like, "Hey, Mrs." Or like, "Oh, president," and like it's Linda Carter. So they're like, that's like it's the Arrowverse just did a lot of really good things to bring in those like little Easter eggs and like give those people who portrayed the characters for so long and made them famous, kind of like brought them into it. Like when Kevin Conroy played Batman, old curmudgeon Batman in an episode.
Yeah. Hey guys, I gotta call it, man.
No, that's fine.
It's
we've spun off of G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate the talk, Mark.
Yeah.
Definitely some good topics of conversation. Before you go, though, let everyone know where they can find you.
Plug your stuff.
Plug your stuff.
Jesus.
You don't have to.
Hey guys, you can find me on Instagram at Mark2Design and Mark2 Toys. On Facebook, check out the G.I. Joe 3D Printing Facebook group. And if you want some of my 3D prints, you can find them on Mark2 Design's Etsy store and Mark2Toys.com.
Oh. Well,
perfect.
Thank you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
had a lot of
good conversation.
I'm really looking forward to you guys kicking this thing off so I can start watching it.
There you go. We are too.
Yeah. Do you have a timeline in your head right now? No.
Yeah. Well,
I think
Nick, hold on, Nick. You can stop recording.
I was gonna say,